Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to lesson number 3 in our podcast about the Roman Empire. If you're wondering why Mr. Logue's voice sounds so funny, it's because it isn't Mr. Logue at all. My name is Mr. Larcio, and I'm the other 7th grade social studies teacher. Throughout the year, you will hear both of us on these podcasts as we adventure together back through history. So let's get started. In our last lesson, we learned about how the fall of Rome happened due to many internal and external factors. But before we move on to the focus of today's lesson, I want to remind everyone of our big idea for this unit. The influence of an empire often lives on even after that empire falls or declines. As we work through this lesson, always be thinking of how this new knowledge relates to the big idea. Now, on to the lesson for today. You may recall from the previous podcast a man named Diocletian who divided the overlarge empire in half, the Western Roman Empire and the Eastern Roman Empire. Before the fall of the Western Roman Empire in 476, Christianity began to rise in popularity among the Romans, and the first Christian emperor, a man by the name of Constantine, briefly reunited the two halves of the empire. However, Constantine saw the coming threats to the west, and he wisely chose to move the capital of the empire to the eastern city of Byzantium. This city was later renamed Constantinople. And that's going to be a trend you'll see. Constantinople will actually change its name later to modern-day Istanbul. But that comes later. Now, when the Western Roman Empire fell to invading barbarians in 476, the Eastern Roman Empire continued to live on, partially thanks to the power and influence of the city of Constantinople. Like I said, a city that is now modern-day Istanbul. Speaking of the modern day, historians now refer to the society that developed in the Eastern Roman Empire as the Byzantine Empire, although back then they thought of themselves as Romans. One of the greatest leaders of the Byzantine Empire was a man named Justinian. Well, I should say Justinian the First. Justinian was passionate about 3 things in his life. The first was to reconquer the Western Roman Empire, the second was the study of law, and the third was the Christian religion. To accomplish his first dream, his first passion you could say, he sent a massive army to recapture Rome from the barbarians. His army was successful in retaking Rome, and they were also successful in retaking much of the land surrounding the Mediterranean Sea. Justinian is widely considered to be the last great Roman emperor because of all that he accomplished during his lifetime. During his rule, he created something known as Justinian's Code. Because Justinian was such a devout Christian, he decided to remove all of the outdated Christian laws that were unchristian, and he replaced them with an organized set of laws that guaranteed fair treatment for all. If that sounds familiar to you, that's because it is said that the founding fathers of the United States took some of the ideas from the code and used them as an inspiration when they wrote our nation's Bill of Rights. Now, let's talk about how and why the Byzantine Empire differed from the Roman Empire in the West. Constantinople is sometimes called the gateway to the East because its location is ideal for trading between Asia in the East and Europe in the West. This trade allowed the Byzantine Empire to become both extremely powerful and influential. Constantinople was a trading hub, meaning that many people from many different lands came to trade their goods at Constantinople. This also means that the empire grew very wealthy from trade. Soon, the Byzantines began to develop their own unique society based on their interactions with the different people and cultures who came to trade in the city. They started to dress in a different fashion and create their own unique pieces of art known as mosaics, which Mr. Logue talked about in our last podcast. Another aspect of Byzantine society that set them apart from the Western Romans was the way that they practiced Christianity. By this time, Christianity had become the dominant religion in both the East and the West. There were many differences in how East and West followed Christianity, but some of the main arguments were about who was really in charge of the church. Was it the Pope in Rome, or was it the Patriarch or Archbishop of Constantinople? In 1054, the two sides decided that enough was enough, and the East split from the West in what was known as the Great Schism, or the East-West Schism. In the West, they practiced what is called Roman Catholicism, and in the East, the Byzantines created what is now known as the Eastern Orthodox Church. So, to recap all of this information, the Roman Empire, as well as the Christian Church, divided into two parts. They considered themselves Romans. Though they considered themselves Romans, the Byzantine Empire developed their own unique society, separate from what was happening in the West. The Byzantine Empire lasted until 1453, when the Ottoman Turks captured Constantinople. And that's all we have for this lesson. We'll see you next time.